Hey everyone, welcome to my course on Vercel Sandbox. Today we're going to be exploring how to run Claude Code in a sandbox containered space on the web. So one of the benefits of Vercel Sandbox is that it enables us to run these agents on the cloud in a trusted environment. So today we're going to actually explore how to build with Sandbox, as well as running Claude Code against both public and private GitHub repositories, as well as enabling Claude Code within the sandbox to push code to our GitHub repository via pull requests. If you're familiar with Claude Code's GitHub action, it's going to be very similar to that in that there's this conversation element, running agentic processes in the cloud, and then merging that via GitHub pull requests so we can actually do that. So come and join me. The first thing you're going to actually have to do is install Vercel CLI, which I already have, but if you don't, just do this npm i-g for global Vercel. We are going to be linking projects to Vercel, as well as polling and interacting with Vercel services on our command line throughout this project. First things first, make your directory. I'm going to just call this ship your own Claude Code. We're going to cd into it. And then we're going to start installing dependencies. So first, we want Vercel Sandbox, as well as MS. Then we're going to be using TypeScript, so let's install the types. And now what we're actually going to have to do is link to our Vercel account. I don't have a project right now, so we're actually going to just set one up. I'll put this on my company. We'll create a new project and just set up all the settings necessary to link Vercel to this particular, okay, we don't want to change. Now that we have our project set to a particular Vercel project, or we've created that Vercel project and linked it, we actually want to do an env poll. Obviously this requires Vercel CLI, so just make sure you have that installed. So with everything linked and pulled down, I'm actually going to now move away from the terminal and open this in VS Code where I'll be working here on out. And now you can see I actually have this .env.local file, which contains our Vercel OIDC token, the CLI and the sandbox. All of the packages we are going to be using moving forward rely on this particular token just to authenticate. Now that we're in our project, we're going to want to add type module. This is just going to let us run asynchronous code inline. Then we're going to create a main.ts where we're going to be exploring most of the sandbox code. First things first, we're going to import sandbox. We're going to create an async function called main, and we're going to await main. Now within our main function, we're going to go ahead and do a sandbox.create. As you can imagine, this creates the sandbox. It's that easy. Now with the sandbox, we're going to run a command. So in our particular case, I just wanted to show you as basic as possible. What we're doing here is an echo. This is a log message. Now if we run this, it's going to just log, which this is a log message. But behind the scenes, we actually spawned a sandbox within the cloud, and we actually ran this echo within this hosted environment. And in there, it ran, this is a log message. Okay, so we ran a command in this hosted environment on the command line using echo. So knowing that we have a node, what's next? Well, npm install, baby. So here we're just doing an npm install Claude Code. We're literally installing the Claude Code CLI onto our hosted sandbox environment. Now, how do you run Claude Code? Via the command line. Again, another command. Run command Claude -p, and in this case, we'll just say, hey Claude, hello. Now, there's this additional option to run command, which is env. So, unfortunately, Claude Code is not free. We're going to have to run it with our Anthropic API. So we're just going to do good old-fashioned API key, process.env, Anthropic API key. Now, that's in our .m.local. You're going to want to add your key right here. I'm not going to share mine with you, but just assume it's in here. And with the API key in place, we are getting a bit of a type error. So let's just add a quick check to ensure that API key actually exists before we try it. Now, let's go ahead and run this again. Make sure you use the end file command shown here rather than what I posted. And again, what's happening here is we're installing the package, and then we're going to be running our -p hello to Claude. Okay, so we're running Claude Code in the cloud. Now, the fun part. Let's run it against the code base in the cloud. Vercel provides actually a very handy option within Sandbox to create called source. So we have source, URL. In this case, we're going to be running it against my blog, which is a public repository. And we'll get into private repositories shortly. And then you just have to specify .git. Now I'm actually going to adjust Claude Code's initial prompt. Instead of just hello, I'm going to say, tell me about this GitHub repository, just to kind of prove that Claude is running against it. So now in our terminal, let's just run main.ts, and let's see what it does. Here we are. We're just kind of waiting. And now, look, it popped out. So if we go to the very top of our output, it's going to just give us an overview. This is a personal blog portfolio website for me. I am a software engineer. Facts, cool. Built with VPress, facts. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this all looks good. Here's the URL of the thing. So again, this is just like showing you the next step that we're going to be exploring, that we can now clone a repository with ease into these sandboxes and just immediately begin hitting it with Claude Code. Okay, so we have public repos pulling in, but what about private repos? Chances are, if you're building a SaaS internal project, you're going to want access to that. So I'm going to just give you an example. I'm going to update my URL to, here's a private repository of mine. Let's add .git. In this case, you're going to extend source with two additional things. Username, x-access token, password, a get access token as well. Cool. Sorry, I just wanted to really quickly add same pattern as our API key, Anthropic. We'll just say our get access key token is not set. So that's actually all you need to now pull a private repository. Obviously, we actually have not set this yet. So I'm going to run into my .env, and we're going to try to get this. So how you're going to want to get this token is go to your GitHub settings. That's here on the top right on your icon, then hit settings, scroll down to developer settings. We're going to create a personal access token. Now here, generate a new token. I'm going to call this ship your own Claude Code. And just because I'm only using this for the tutorial, I'll create a 7-day expiration date and ensure you give it repository access. So actually, while we're here, I'm going to recommend, if you're going to continue following this tutorial series, to add a few permissions. We are going to want the ability to create a pull request and issues. Now, these default to read only, but we're actually going to want to do read and write. Again, the goal of this is to recreate Claude Code in the web. So in order to do that, to make adjustments, we're going to need to create pull requests to these GitHub repositories to actually ship changes to get that code into the GitHub repo. So now we generate our token, and you're going to want to copy this. Again, super secret token. Don't share this with anyone. I'm going to delete this shortly after posting this video. Let's go back to your code base, plug it into .env, and now, just to prove to you that this repo is in fact private, you can see here, we got our lock. It's private, okay? Now, let's go to our terminal, run our main command again. Okay, well, I'm silly. I realize now that running this, it actually is not getting our end file. So with TSX, you actually have to add end file. So in this particular case, so up until now, I've actually been running my global Anthropic key. Okay, so actually we're gonna need one more permission, and that's contents. This gives us the ability to actually clone the repository. This can probably just be read-only. Now let's go ahead and update, and let's run it again. Okay, and there we have it. This is InstaReply, AI-powered reply keyboard for iOS. It's true. That's what it is. So again, just to verify, we have in fact ran a clone on a private repository within our virtualized sandbox. Okay, up until now, we've been running Claude Code using this CLI command here. We're just running Claude via the Claude Code command line interface. This works well enough, but we actually want to begin controlling Claude Code a bit more extensively. And so to do this, we're actually going to be moving away from this interface and actually into our own dedicated scripts that we're going to be running via Claude's Agent SDK. So what that looks like is we're going to adjust our install command from this Claude Code to actually being Claude Agent SDK. Then we're going to delete this run command here. Now we're going to pull in a new function that hasn't been created yet called generated script. And this is a generate agent script function. We're going to create a new file called generate agent script. In our generate agent script, you're actually going to want to paste this in. And I do apologize, there's quite a bit of text occurring here. But essentially what we're doing is we're creating a TypeScript file via string. So in this, we're using our Claude Agent SDK's query function, and I'll link some docs in the description. But essentially, this is Claude Code's interface, under the hood to interact with run prompts, adjust tooling, etc. So in this particular case, I just have the default prompt to tell me about this code base. And then I have options. So in our permission mode, we have accept edits, which auto accepts file edits. Think of like YOLO mode. We have a max turns of 20, so we can limit how many iterations this agent does, as well as the allowed tools. So read, write, edit, bash, glob, grep. And we will extend this further. So this is actually kind of the main reason we're doing this, and you'll see why soon. And then a system prompt. We're just using the Claude Code preset, focus on making minimal targeted changes, etc., etc. Now, if you've worked with these agentic SDKs in the past, you'll probably recognize this. Basically, the responses are streamed. This gives us the ability to see that response in near real time. Okay, I know it's a lot. Again, this code's all going to be on GitHub, so if you want to just copy and paste this, you totally can. But now let's go back to our main. We're going to go to the top here, and we're going to import it. Fix that type error. And now what's happening is we have generated this script, but we need the script to now run in our sandbox. So how do we do that? There's a sandbox.writeFiles function or method that allows us to actually write the contents of this string into a dedicated file. So here we're going to be doing Vercel Sandbox verify.mj. This is just the pathing they recommend on their docs. Now we're going to use Sandbox's run command to run this particular generated file using Node with our Anthropic API key. Okay, we'll go to our terminal and we're going to go ahead and run main.ts. Okay, so we've ran it and here we go. Type success. We've hit the bottom of our script. So basically our results are finished, our query has ran, and our Claude Code agent is running successfully. Now, obviously, this data is really difficult to work with, just huge blobs of JSON. So we're gonna extend this further. What's up with this blob of string, huh? Why did we do this? The reason I want MCP servers in my sandbox. One particular MCP server that I'm going to be working with here is GitHub. I can pull in this GitHub MCP server, and I can actually spawn this server using the syntax right in the sandbox. And what this server will provide us are additional tools. In fact, these are the tools I'm going to be working with here. So we have this MCP GitHub prefix, which is just the structure that this MCP server exposes these tools as. We have create branch, create pull requests, list pull requests, create issues, update files, search repositories, etc. And so this is going to work alongside our Git access token that we created earlier to give our Claude Code agent the ability to explore our repo, update code, and push pull requests. Which, just to reiterate, again, this is the goal of this application. For me personally, is to be able to code from devices besides my laptop that have Claude Code running, specifically my cell phone. So, given this structure, we can now actually run this MCP server in our sandbox with these tools. All we need is this Git access token. So if you remember, we have a Git access token here in our main. So I'm actually going to plug this in as a parameter into our generate agent script. Now we just got to come here and give it Git access token. So pretty cool. Well, we're not there yet. Let's go ahead and adjust our prompt now. So we've given the agent the ability to update the code via a pull request, but the prompt kind of has to tell it what to do, to give it access, like to guide it, right? Imagine you're prompting Claude Code like, hey, update the button color. That's what Claude's going to want to, focus on before creating those code changes. So let's do that. Let's just say like, update the onboarding button to be bright red. Now, this prompt is going to be ran against my insta-reply codebase, which is a private repo. And the goal is now, once updated, create a pull request to GitHub with these changes. So now our prompt we're telling it to not only update the button color, but then also create a pull request. So let's run this. Okay, to make pull requests, we're actually going to have to put contents to read and write. So let's go ahead and update that. And now we can run our script. Okay, it's finished running. And if we go over to our GitHub, look at this, update onboarding button to bright red. So we can actually see a pull request was generated by Claude Code with the commit as well as file change. So it adjusted our onboarding views button to red. And so there you have it. We have successfully interacted with GitHub, creating a pull request from our sandbox. So this is as far as I'm going to take you on this journey to exploring Vercel Sandbox. What I recommend next steps to be is actually converting this main.ts file into an Next.js server route and hosting this online in a UI. Just start with a button, right? Click the button, trigger, maybe an input field to impact the prompt, and then you can play around with how to manage server logs in your sandbox to show into your web experience. Let me know in the comments if that's something you're interested in. I could absolutely build that and introduce you to how I would do it. I just felt like this video was kind of reaching its limit in time and I was going down a rabbit hole. So if you're interested, happy to continue exploring this with you. But for now, I'm going to call it. So hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe if you want to see more.